Breaking news this morning, a strike at Ontario colleges is over after the union representing full-time support staff reached a tentative agreement with the College Employer Council.
10,000 workers at Ontario's 24 public colleges had been on strike since September 11th. OPSEU says picket lines will come down today and the details of the tentative deal will be shared with members this afternoon. The union also says support staff will return to work tomorrow. OPSEU says the strike helped the public understand that the, quote, college system is being deliberately defunded and says plans include further cutbacks and outsourcing.
In other labor news, bad news for Canada's auto sector as Stellantis has announced plans to shift work south of the border.
CP24's Courtney Heels is live outside the Brampton assembly plant and joins us live with more. Courtney, this is a very big development given that we know operations were paused, but now with the announcement of this move, it could be more permanent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we understand this could impact as many as 3,000 employees here at the facility with Stellantis in Brampton, people who have been on edge for many months now, as you say, Jen. The work here has been on pause since February. At that time, we heard from Stellantis saying they were reassessing things, but the plan was to restart the work here on the Jeep Compass. This is the next generation of the electric vehicle SUV at some point this year. Now we're learning the work will move south of the border to a plant in Illinois. We're getting a lot of reaction. The Premier expressing his disappointment with this move by Stellantis. Of course, the Prime Minister also very concerned about this, saying this is considered connected to the threat of tariffs from U.S. President Donald Trump. Let's bring in Lana Payne. She's the Unifor National President to talk more about this developing story. Good morning, Lana. This is, of course, very, very disappointing for the many people who worked behind me here. But there was a lot of speculation that something like this could happen, given people have been waiting for about 9 months for some direction from the company. Was the union given any sort of heads up on this?
No, we learned of this final decision yesterday at 4:30. The company had a meeting with us and that our members got an automated message, if you can imagine that, into the evening. The reality is we've been saying since the beginning of this year that this trade war would have this kind of impact if we didn't fight back against what it is the U.S. has been trying to do here. And Donald Trump has been very clear from the beginning that he was coming for our auto jobs. And companies now are making decisions to appease Trump in this trade war, and we have to do everything possible as a country to protect these jobs. And that means right now, Brampton is ground zero, and we expect both our federal and provincial governments to fight for these auto jobs with everything we have.
Mm-hmm. I know your union put out a statement following this announcement yesterday saying you want the federal government to use Canada's leverage in this fight. What do you mean by that?
I mean, the reality is that if we're not going to fight for the auto sector and the 150,000 direct jobs in that sector and the 500,000 jobs that depend on this sector in this country, what are we willing to fight for? And we've said from the very beginning that this has been the fight of our lives, and we have to do everything possible to push back against what it is Donald Trump is aiming to do here, and that is to destroy the industrial economy of Canada. And it's the auto sector that has been on the front lines of that fight. And of course, now the forestry sector is there too, the steel sector, the aluminum sector, all of it. And we have, you know, as a country, we have let up on our retaliation on the U.S., and we have to consider right now whether that is a strategy that has been working for us or whether we have to put everything on the table and push back hard against this attempt to destroy jobs in Canada.
Mm-hmm. This threat, as you say, has been looming for many, many months now. Do you think the federal government is doing enough to address it now and protect jobs within the auto manufacturing industry?
I think there's more that we have to do. Companies have to understand, companies like Stellantis and anyone else, that if they attempt to shift jobs, which is what Stellantis is doing with this announcement, from Canada to the United States, that there are going to be consequences for doing that. And there are many levers that the government can use here in this case. But But first and foremost, we have to have a conversation with this company, including the Prime Minister having a conversation with them about how this is just not on. We expect them to support our members in a way that defends these jobs and keeps the Brampton assembly plant producing vehicles for generations to come. And that's the fight right now.
Lana, we understand this will impact about 3,000 people who work at the plant behind me here. Do you know, were they given layoff notices? Have they been told, OK, there could be work down the road, so hang on for a little bit? What's the communication there? What's the status of their role here?
No, none of that has been determined at this point. Obviously, we have to have conversations with the company. We just got the news 12 hours ago. The other thing is it's 3,000 direct jobs, but I will tell you there are thousands more in the supply chain that are also impacted here, auto parts jobs in the community of Brampton and beyond. So these are thousands and thousands of workers who are impacted by this decision to shift production south of the border. And as a country, we have to stand up to this. We just have no choice here. If we're going to have an industrial economy in Canada, it means pushing back on decisions exactly like this, and also pushing back on the U.S. in terms of what it is they're trying to achieve here.
Lynn, I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, and I'm running out of it too, but I have one more quick question. Stellantis has said they do have plans for work here in Brampton, but they're not saying anything more on that. Do you have any idea what that could mean, what it could look like?
No, but if they have plans, people should know this now. We have been almost 2 years with our members out of the workplace. They have been going through what was supposed to be a retool. That retool was paused in February. This is enough with the uncertainty. If they have a product to go into Brampton, tell our members and tell our union and tell Canada what it is, and let's get our members back to work.
Okay, Lana Payne, Unifor National President, joining us live this morning. Lana, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Nick, Jen, we'll continue to gather reaction from residents in Brampton, hopefully people who also worked at the plant behind me here, because you hear there's still a lot of questions. We don't know what this means for the 3,000 people who work here, but the many others who will be affected, the businesses that are directly connected to this processing plant behind me here. That uncertainty, of course, very, very concerning for so many people. And we are hearing a lot of concern and just so much disappointment, because at the end of the day, this was the fear, right? That people would, in fact, respond to the threat of tariffs from U.S. President Donald Trump and start moving work across the border.